It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Hello everybody and welcome again to another episode of Freethinking, the Gonna Go to Papa Lifestyle Channel podcast. This is a podcast for free thinkers, self-improvement devotees, business people, hip-hop heads, music lovers, martial arts enthusiasts, and generally cool motherfuckers. Today's podcast, well, it's kind of had two titles. I wasn't sure if I should call it The Temperature's Rising after the Mobb Deep track or The New Intolerance. It basically means the same thing. It's a big topic. I'm pretty sure before I even get started, I'm not going to deal with it to satisfaction, but I really feel it needs to be said. So let's see what I can do it in 7, 14 or 21 minutes. Let's hit that bell. Okay, so there's the temperature's rising or the new intolerance. Basically, I want to talk about intolerance, and I tell you where this came from. I had two incidents happen to me in the last 24 hours. The first one was, we live in urbanizations out here in Spain. Even the most expensive apartments often are in urbanizations. So it's fancy council estates. We're living door to door. You're wall to wall with your neighbors in apartments. And there's a hell of a lot of curtain twitching. So, you could be on either sides of a swimming pool in a beautiful area, in a beautiful view, but yet your neighbor across the way is, still looking to see what you're doing on your balcony or what's happening in the pool or, what you're doing on the grass outside your house. There's a lot of that, a lot of curtain twitchers, people with nothing better to do with their time, hyacinth bouquets, and that kind of stuff. So what happened was, I was told about a story about someone who had been told by someone else, because this is obviously this is holiday season. So what happens is a lot of people, they rent out their apartments in the holiday to get a bit of money in, whether they have a mortgage to pay the mortgage, you're familiar with buy to let type stuff, or they rent it out just to get some money to pay the community fees or get a bit of extra money, whatever the reason is. So people rent out the apartments because June, July, August are the high seasons for holiday. You get the most money and you can pretty much cover most of your costs or whatever you want to achieve in that period of time. So I was told about someone who got a phone call from somebody, actually particularly it was the president of the urbanization. I'll really have to go into that another day, but the president of the urbanization is just a person who's voted by the owners to manage the urbanization. A bit like you'd have what's the word I'm looking for? It's on my tip of my tongue. It's gone again now. But a service company. If you have an apartment, there's a company that takes care of the lifts and tells what you can and can't do. You can't leave bikes in the hallway. Blah blah blah. When we bought properties, we always had those kind of companies. But they're normally outside. The way it works in Spain is a little bit different. I don't want to get into that too much. But there's a guy who basically gets voted in by the other owners to preside over the rules and regulations of the urbanization, of the fancy housing estate. And the problem is, I always say this, it's like, I would say anybody who wants to be president is the worst person to vote as a president. Anybody who wants to be prime minister is the worst person to vote as a prime minister. Because so few ever want that position to, who genuinely want to help others. It's usually all about ego. They're usually incredibly insecure, they're battling demons, and absolutely just horrible people. Not all, but often. And this guy is like the worst example of this I've ever come across in my life. I swear to God, I had absolutely no genuine understanding of what people meant when they said, that guy's a little Hitler, because, that's really extreme, right? Hitler is a very extreme example to call anybody. But I really understand it because this guy has a Hitler-esque mentality. He really does. He's the kind of person, if he's got a little bit of power and exercises it with absolute ruthless authority, at least tries to, apart from that, he's utterly incompetent. If he wasn't utterly incompetent, he would exercise his power with, ruthlessness. But he's got this little bit of power as just being the name that a group of owners of a group of apartments have asked him to oversee the management company. I mean, if it's actually a professional management company, he just oversees them and yet walks around like somebody's told me, and many people have joked about, like he thinks he's President Obama. And that's back in the day, or like George Bush, people just laugh their heads off. But he has this absolute power mad agenda. about controlling everybody's lives, and it's absolutely horrible. I could do a whole podcast on just that alone, and I probably will. On this particular, psychopath, he's on that spectrum of sociopath, narcissist, psychopath, and quite high up. But the point is, what he did is he contacted someone else and said, right, and this is the holiday period, so you can imagine everybody's rented their apartments to different people. And he found out someone to say, hey, there are 6 Moroccans on your terrace. And we were sharing this story, myself and some other, very good friends, tolerant people. And what I just said was, well, what I don't understand is, you've rented your apartment out, so you can assume that bookings.com or lettings.co.uk or, Cairo or whoever the hell has arranged your lettings, has let it out to Moroccan people. And, if your apartment houses that many people, then that's how many people are going to be in there. So the question is, why is it notable? Why is it noteworthy that there are 6 Moroccans on your terrace? The question is, are they breaking the law? Are they causing a nuisance? If the answer to those 2 questions are no, then frankly, it's none of your fucking business who's on my terrace. So have a coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. But you see, these kind of psychopaths, these control freaks, they really want to exercise that power. They want to tell people who and what should be, what they should do with their own property. And more importantly, who and what they should be allowing to use the community. Because obviously, the properties associated to the gardens and the swimming pool and etc., etc. So what they're really saying is, we don't want these kind of people here, because there's no point in pointing out that a particular ethnic group is using someone's apartment if they're not causing trouble and they're not breaking the law. Then what's the point of pointing it out? Unless what you're really saying is, well, they're just there. What were they doing? Were they breaking the law? No, they weren't breaking the law. They're totally law-abiding. Okay, well, they're causing a nuisance. You have to call, the security to tone it down a bit. No, they weren't making any noise whatsoever. Then what was the matter? They were just there, looking all Moroccan-y. You know how Moroccans look? Just Moroccan-y. It was just offensive that they were breathing and stood on the terrace, and not 1 or 2 of them, because we might have been able to ignore that, but there were 6 of them. Now, the reason it's so reprehensible is that this particular cunt, sorry, I had this conversation already before, don't want to be called a cunt, don't act like one. This cunt regularly rents his apartment to golfers. There will regularly be 6 to 8 golfers in his apartment, on his terrace. Golfers are not notoriously quiet. Why? Because they're on golf holidays. They're out here having a drink, boozing, going to brothels, coming home staggering drunk, making lots of noise, being leery and being shitty. But you see, leery, shitty, booze-addled, probably cocaine-addled golfers laughing and talking loudly, doing barbecues, screaming and jeering on his terrace, that's perfectly acceptable. Even though they are very possibly breaking the law and very possibly or very often causing a nuisance. But they're white Anglo-Saxon they're white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, middle-aged white men. So there's nothing offensive about their behaviour, even if their behaviour is offensive. How could it offend you? Because they're just, normal people. And this is what it's all about. It's normality. It's about you setting the benchmark of normality being, well, normal is white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That's normal. Now, if you're outside of that, then you already have created an offence. You've caused an offence because you're outside of the norm. Now you're drawing my attention. And this is frankly, the root of why when policeman pulls up and says to 2 guys stood together, a black guy and a white guy, you're under arrest. And they both say, I haven't done anything. And the white guy throws his arms up in the air and waves his arms all around and says, I haven't done anything. Why are you stopping me? The policeman ignores that. He doesn't see it as a threat. But when the black guy says, he takes his hand from a static position and goes, slowly raises his hand and says, can I just ask one question? The policeman jumps back and fires off every bullet in his gun, full salvo. Why? Because he threatened me. Because he made one gesture. Why? Because he's outside of the norm. The white guy, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, looks like me. So I wasn't scared when he was screaming and shouting, throwing his toys out of the pram, marching back and forwards, waving his hands in the air. But the black guy made one gesture, he's outside of the norm. Doesn't look like me. So all of a sudden, he's a threat. I had to put him down. Black Lives Matter will tell you all about that. We're not even going to go into that. That's just proven facts on an all too regular basis. So, this was only the first incidents of intolerance, and I just was absolutely not even amazed. I know these guys are kind. I was just really saddened that 21st century, here we go again, that you can basically just put people down for just being who they are, just for breathing. Now I shouldn't be, because we know that this is happening with the popularism with Donald Trump and the popularism with Brexit and all the other popularism we've seen sprouting up across the European world. That this is really the new mentality. This is the new thought process of at least 50% of the population, that we don't want you here. You being here, you being you, just that is an offense. But yet I was amazed that this person it's still, I wasn't amazed. I've rephrased, like I said, it wasn't the first time he'd done it. He'd done it on many, many, many other occasions. But it came up and it just made me really think about the levels of intolerance that are going on. And then I had the following day or so, I had another scenario where I was introduced to somebody who was from Bolton, I think he said he was from. And I had this one of the surreal conversations, and I find these conversations surreal, because people really think that you're going to buy into the same shit they bought into. And I'm going to explain what that means. I said this before, the 1% tell working class, poor white people that we ain't giving you shit, but will allow you to feel that you're more important and give you more power than working class minorities. That's all you get. That's the bonus that you get. So they exercise that. Now, I've said before, if they had any common sense, you'd say, no, I got more in common with them than I have with you, so I'm not going to go and oppress them and treat them badly and develop a hate for them for no reason whatsoever, just to keep you in power, because that's all you're giving me. Like I said, I'm sure it was the last podcast I did, giving you the praise but not the raise. They're not bringing you into their little club. They're just allowing you to feel better than other people. But yet this is a real life example of exactly that. Here I was, this guy saying to me, oh yeah, I don't go back to England much. I said, no, me neither. He said, oh yeah, I'm from Bolton. He goes, Bolton. He said, oh, bloody hell, I tell you what, you, my friend, are the right type of coloured. You know what I mean? I severely doubt I know what you mean, but we're still outside of a supermarket. I ain't gonna make a scene. Let's just keep going. Like you're the right type of coloured. You know what I mean? It's those packies. Yeah. No, it wasn't even that. It's those fucking packies. So I'm like, oh, here we go again. And you know what? Let me just keep this real, man. And I'll accept the hate on this occasion, right? We all watch our movies about superheroes, whether they be James Bond or Ethan Hawke or whoever it is, Captain Marvel, and they all jump up and they stand up against injustice straight away, and we all pretend that we would do that. I gotta be honest with you, man. I've been doing that. Do you know what I mean? And I've been on the wrong side of it as well. And I'm sick and tired of it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sick and tired. I really thought that at this stage in the human development, I wouldn't still be listening to that same dumb shit and having to defend it. And having to raise my voice and curse people out and call them as I said, if I can't call you gammon, back to concert B then. Can't remember who that. I think that was Victoria. Couldn't make Victoria, whatever. A comedian, female comedian, dropped that one, and I absolutely loved it. So do you know what I mean? I just like. So I was like, okay. Now I try and exert what my very good friend and mentor, Mr. Sean Fraser, taught me. He said to me, we should not be expounding black radicalism, we should be expounding black irrationalism. So I try and expound black irrationalism. So I said to him, well, aside from the fact that I said, look, I'm a migrant, I'm a migrant parent of migrants. I said, I don't really appreciate, hate towards migrant. It doesn't make any, I can't appreciate hate towards migrants because it includes me. In fact, it includes you because you're here in Spain, migrated your ass from England. But I said, let's not even get into that. I said, the point is this. I said, at the end of the day, aside from when you're not appreciating your, inflammatory language, please don't include me with you against them because it's never going to happen, But I said, at the end of the day, I always tell you people, you've got the wrong arguments. if you're unhappy, so what you're unhappy about, because they come over the country and they don't want to integrate, they want to have their own culture, they don't want to do things like us, and so your family came, to England and they integrated, and that's why it's all right. And I'm thinking, yeah, my family came to England and integrated because when you went to the Caribbean and Africa, you decimated every single remnant of our culture until we had nothing less left but the majority English culture. You know what I mean? So, you can look at it that way if you want to, but that's really what it was about. It wasn't really an aim of immigration. It was an aim of, people were being drummed into that England was the mother country because all other aspects of our Africanness have been completely eradicated. But I'm like, okay. I said, well, I came to you people, you got a problem with your government. I said, the government are the people who invite people into the country. The government are the people who set the parameters as to how people should integrate and behave. And if you're unhappy with what they're doing, then go talk to your government about that. But you'll sit here talking about fucking Pakis. But the people, if they are indeed of Pakistani origin, or the Muslims, as you're often thrown it as, or it's either that or Muslims, at the end of the day, really, it's nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? They applied to go into a country, or they found a way into a country using the loopholes that other people use. They're in the country and they're living the way that they're allowed to live in the country. And your argument is, not only offensive and incendiary, but it's just plain fucking stupid. And that's how I dealt with it. It wasn't very exciting. Nobody got like clotheslined or drop kicked. You know what I mean? I just literally nowadays try to prove my point, get the point across, and hope that the person I'm talking to has even a semblance of intelligence enough in them to actually understand the point I'm trying to explain to them, and understand that they're being used, and the hateful anger that they're directing at people is very, very, very misguided. If there is a problem, and I know there are some very real problems in what's going on in Europe and migration, they're all very, very misguided, and you're being diverted and misguided by the people who create the situations and then run off and laugh about it while you're running in circles or attacking the wrong people and they're just cashing in. So that was my second incident. But I just thought to myself, at the end of the day, man, this new intolerance, this rising of the temperature of intolerance is really, really sad. I'm finding it very, very sad. We're looking at the worst examples of one rule for us and another, and a rule and a different rule for other people. Because like I said, there's got the one guy who routinely has his 10 golfers barbecuing, drinking, swearing, laughing loudly all night, but 6 quiet Moroccans on the opposing terrace are somehow committing an offence. And then you got this other guy who has migrated to Spain and has lived in Spain for 20 years. I didn't even need to ask if he speaks Spanish because fucking 2/3 of the English expat, not even that name's a misnomer, the English migrants who came to Spain don't speak, more than 10 words of the language. They do not integrate with Spanish culture for one fucking second. In fact, most of them don't even know what Spanish culture is. I would have no idea of the facets of Spanish culture. Yet sit from this country shouting across the channel about fucking immigrants and people who don't want to learn the language and don't want to integrate. It's not just what the worst example, one rule for one and another rule for others. It's just the most stupid, blatantly hypocritical situation in the world. And I guess as it's blatantly stupid and hypocritical, it really comes back to that whole adage of a wise man once said, "Don't argue with fools." Like, there's nothing to shout at these people about. If they can't work out that they're in a country that they haven't integrated into the culture and learned the language, yet they're shouting about people going to the country where they used to live 20 odd fucking years ago, and it's a big deal for them that people are moving to that country and learning the language, you're a hypocrite. And within that hypocrisy must be a humongous level of not only self-entitlement, but just fucking stupidity. I mean, just absolute everyday fucking stupidity. So, I just find it really very sad. But without a doubt, the temperature's rising. So it now actually reminds me of, I think I mentioned before about my friend who had said that, basically humanity just boils down to a bunch of predatory mammals, looking out for their own best interests. And, one of the things that, predatory mammals, as predatory mammals, we seem to be doing, is we group We go into groups because it's part of our survival instinct. That if I'm in this group, I'm in a more powerful position than being on my own. So there we are, a bunch of predatory mammals, and now we're grouping up to make sure that I'm in a group that can survive an attack from another group. And basically, that's all that's really happened. As opposed to the scenario of mammals, human mammals getting together and saying, hey, we could all get together, because we are the group. Human mammals are the group. Not black human mammals, white human mammals, gay human mammals, human mammals with dwarfism, or human mammals. No, human mammals are the group, and we haven't seemed to have moved on to the level of understanding that human mammals are a group. In fact, believe it or not, I'm about to quote Ronald Reagan, because it was Ronald Reagan who said, if somehow there was some external earthly force that threatened us, it would probably be the only way that human beings, I'm paraphrasing by the way, it'd probably be the only way that human beings would finally realize that our interests are aligned. As opposed to, I don't like him because he's black, I don't like him because he's white, I don't like him because he's short, I don't like him because he's LGBT. That's foolishness. Do you know what I mean? Because if we were all those different categories put in a den of lions, the lion ain't gonna not eat one of us because he's black or gay. So our interests are most definitely aligned if we had enough common sense to fucking see it. Unfortunately, we just don't. We think our interests are aligned with smaller groups, and it's us against them, and we play us against them. We play that card continuously, and that's why we have this rising intolerance. So it's funny because when I was young, I had this theory, and it's funny. I just met some people today, and I repeated it. I said, no, I was young. I was like, what we should do, man, is we should draw a line across the planet and just say, listen, all intolerant people, all blacks who don't like whites, whites who don't like blacks, people who hate homosexuals, people who hate short people, people who hate fat people, all people who refuse or no willingness to live in tolerance with the other human beings on this planet, you guys will go live over there. Yeah, I mean, as Chipmunk said, man, as Chip said, you know what I mean? I ain't got no time for no hating ass, take that shit over there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you go live over there. Or you guys live over there with your intolerant attitudes, and you can quite frankly just fucking kill each other. And I say that wholeheartedly, knowing that I would have been one of the people who would have been assigned to that part of the planet, 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Because I wasn't willing to live in tolerance at that time. But the people who want to live in tolerance, you live on this side. Do you know what I mean? Because once you're willing to live in tolerance, then we'll always be able to get past any kind of, misunderstandings, and and work together as, like I said, as a species to work towards improvement. And it's so funny that when I was very young, it seemed like such an outlandishly stupid, thought or philosophy. Yet as I get older, it's reoccurred in my brain. It's come back to my mind a lot, because it really is like, all you people who really, really, really have no tolerance for other people, you just need to be somewhere else, man, together, and live in your intolerance. And it's funny. And what I said to my guy, the guy was talking to a guy called Darren, and a really beautiful soul. And one of the people, one of them experiences where, like I said, they've just had 48 hours of listening to fucking putrid bile coming out of people's mouths, and then you have one person who just resets and reminds you that there are some sane fucking well-adjusted human beings on the planet. And I didn't invite this conversation. He just sat me, we were talking, he's like bringing all this stuff out, probably because he's been having the same kind of experiences. Do you know what I mean? And I was really, really, really heartened, and I thank you for that, my brother, for making me feel so much better. And I said to him, because he said to me, look, I don't like everybody. I said, that's the point, dude. I said, the whole concept of tolerance isn't that you like everybody. In fact, by definition, if you only support the people you like, you're not tolerant. The whole point of tolerance is, I don't particularly like the way you are, or particularly like what you do, but I understand that you're a human being like me, and you have a right to express yourself as long as you are not breaking the laws or hurting other people. You know what I mean? We have laws, however we want to arrange it, whatever the society is arranged, there will be laws, and as long as you ain't breaking laws and hurting other people, then you do you. I don't have to like it. That's tolerance. I'm tolerating you doing you, because I expect you to tolerate me doing me. You know? So the opposite of that is cunt face president who expects people to tolerate his drunken, bawdy golfers on his terrace making up their noise, even though they might not be drunken, bawdy golfers themselves, but does not want to tolerate a group of Moroccans sitting on a terrace on the opposite of his building, whatever they were doing, drinking coffee. Do you know what I mean? Because he doesn't like the look of them and is intolerant to the fact that they exist. You know, just the most heinous, despicable type of human being, really. Because the reason I say that is because this is a little man, not physically, but personality-wise, with a very, very limited amount of power, who is wielding it for every fucking thing it's got. Imagine if you took somebody like that and gave him a lot of power. That's what people talk about when they say, yeah, that guy's like a little Hitler. Because if you give someone like that a lot of power, that complaint that somebody had rented out the apartment to people that he doesn't like the look of would move into, we're gonna kidnap those people and put them into concentration camps and exterminate them and experiment on them. Why? Because I don't like the way they look. I don't like the way they act. I don't like the way they smell. They should look like me and make noise drunkenly like me and sit on the terraces making barbecues and making loud jokes like we do. And if they don't do that, then they should all be exterminated, because anything that isn't in my image shouldn't exist. That's what they mean by little Hitler. And that's what you are, cunt face. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, it's like it's a new intolerance, man. You know, it's a new intolerance and it's rising. The temperature of this new intolerance is rising. So, you know, I'll leave you with something a little bit more spiritual. I don't always subscribe to spiritual stuff, but I always like, you know, I like science, I like spirituality. You know, I've heard on many, many different occasions and many, many different guises, you know, the concept or the thought, the belief that this world, this life, this existence is just a test. And what we're really here to do is, like, you know, raise our vibration. Through this experience, we're meant to raise our vibrations. And then when we get to a certain vibration, then we'll transcend this reality and we'll move into another reality, either through death or through some other type of, you know, process. So, you know, I suppose for me that's real bad news, because I don't think I'm going to raise my vibrations to that level, you know, because everybody talks about that kind of thing, talks about being loving and accepting of all the people, you know, forgiving and being loving and accepting of all the people who do you wrong, and not, you know, being angry, and, you know, this kind of very kind of I don't know, you know, Buddhist type philosophy, you know, Buddhist Hindu type philosophy, and with regards to that, I'm skeptical on that, man. It's like, nah, blood, that's not me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that ain't gonna happen. I ain't turning no other fucking cheek, and I'm not suffering no fucking fools. You know what I mean? I'm not, and I actually think that philosophy in reality is very fucking dangerous. I'm very, very, very well known for being famously wrong. So if I'm famously wrong, and, you know, that type of philosophy that is the truth, then that's why I'm saying I'm fucked, because I'm not transcending to no other dimension. And the worst part of not transcending to any other dimension, it means I'm going to be stuck in this dimension with these cunts who are completely and utterly intolerant of everybody else. I would love to, you know, if we can't draw a line through the sand on the planet, I'd love to transcend to another dimension, you know, where evolved, enlightened human beings now live in a much more, you know, a state of tolerance and acceptance of each other, you know. And I suppose the hypocrisy obviously is, well, I'm not tolerant of intolerant people, so how the hell would I get there? QED, man, so I'm fucked, you know. But no, nevertheless, the new intolerance is real dangerous, man. It's really dangerous. I know the world goes in ebbs and flows, you know what I mean, and we're in an ebb at the moment. We're going in a trough. We can see it all over the world, and I'm sure it'll go back to a flow at some point. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world as we know it, although that is a great fucking song. It's the end of the world as we know it. You know what I mean? Although that's a great song, I'm not trying to say it's that. I'm not purporting that at all. I'm just saying that this particular trough is really, really fucking depressing for me. I'm not depressed, but I find it depressed and I find it really sad. And I'm really saddened, to have to listen to all of this stuff. I cut myself off of social media for like 4 years to stop having to have this constant influx of insidious, heinous, bullshit from people. Lies, misnomers, intolerance, sexism, racism. I just got sick of this crap. Do you know what I mean? People are reposting on their social media without a second thought because, like I said, idgaff, dillygaff, cowards sitting behind keyboards. Cowards sitting behind keyboards, reposting stuff that they could never look in your eye and say. And then meet me on the high road. I'm going to say, hey, what's up? Like, hey, what's up? I want to punch you in your fucking face for the thing you posted last week about Muslims, which was insultive to so many of my friends. Or the thing you posted the other day against women, which is insulted to half the population of the planet, including a lot of my friends, half the population of the planet. Do you know what I mean? That's what's up. So I was like, yo, just cut it all off and cut all them off as well. So as I said, this was always going to be a podcast I wasn't going to be happy with because it's too big a topic. It really, really, really is too big a topic. But at the same time, it's what's going on in my life, and I really felt like I wanted to dig into it and just talk a little bit about this intolerance. Like I said, there will be a lot of university professors and social scientists and politicians and social commentators who can do this on a much, 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 much more in-depth and higher scale, and maybe get to the roots of where this intolerance is coming from. This real podcast was just really about talking about the effects of it. It's about me trying to exist and doing a normal life, not looking for it, and just having this slime, this sludge, this shit foist upon me. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't going to places where I was expecting to find this. I'm just going about my everyday business, and I'm having this bullshit foist upon me because that's how intolerant most people in this world are now. That as they said after the Brexit thing, people with this attitude have been emboldened. And I think before I have to do an addendum, one of the things that is really true is that I always said, I'll do freedom of speech when I wasn't it before this, but then this happened, was, I like freedom of speech. I support freedom of speech. I support people's ability or their right to say what they really feel, and I prefer it because we've all experienced the guy who smiles in your face and tells you that he likes you and you're great and he really appreciates you and respects you, and you walk out the door and says, I can't stand that guy, or I can't stand that nation, or I can't stand that race, or I can't stand that sexuality. Do you know what I mean? So it's much better people just look in your face and tell you. So, the fact that, these intolerant people have been emboldened, in all honesty, is a good thing. It's not a bad thing for the human race from the perspective of those of us who have to suffer them, knowing that's what they think. It's just sad to me that that's what they think. The reality is they've always been here. They're never going nowhere. I used to believe that humanity was going to evolve. If that is the case, then it might be really what 144,000 is about, that on this planet of 7 billion people, only 144,000 are going to evolve to the extent that they get out of this fucking quagmire, and the rest of us are going to be stuck here. And I guess I'm talking from the perspective of somebody who expects to be stuck here, saying, well, ain't that about a bitch? That I'm going to be stuck here with these fucking intolerant people having to put up with their shit, their hurtful, derisive, superior for absolutely no reason. There's this misnomer of superiority for no reason whatsoever. I have to be down to share the planet with these people, but it is what it is. This is Bring Free Thinking. I'm the guy to go on the papa. If you like it, share. If you hate it, share, and share 2 times more. Leave something in the comments. Give us some support. Hit that donate, go fund us. We'll see you here for another free thinking session. It gaff dillygaff. It gaff dillygaff. I'm illy with the dillygaff. Illy with the dillygaff. Nit gaff. Nit gaff. I'm illy with the dillygaff. I don't give a fuck with the dillygaff. We ain't got no time for you haters. I do not respect anybody sitting behind a keyboard trying to belittle anybody making them feel bad about themselves.